G'day folks, welcome back to All Things Outdoors. Now the other day I made a new purchase to replace our tired but faithful Waco upright fridge in our caravan, and it is the Austrail 80 litre upright fridge freezer.
Paddling jacks, driving on the tracks, and so much more. Come along with All Things Outdoors.
Now this is a relatively new fridge to the market. It was purchased from Anaconda. I'm a member there, so I got it for $5.99 when the regular retail price for it is $9.99. So I was pretty happy with that price, although it was a slight bit of a gamble because there is not a lot of information on the web for this particular fridge. Even on the Austrail website there is nothing on there. So I thought I would take a punt and then give an honest review for you guys. Now it's a dual zone fridge freezer, and you can immediately see that there's actually two temperatures up there. So one is for the fridge and one is for the freezer, which can be set independently, which is a really good feature, and it shows you the current temperature there as well as being able to show you what you've set it at. Now this does have a feature where the temperature will correct itself between 0.5 and 2 degrees out of the temperature setting, so it can wander a little bit. In the tests that I've done in the 24 hours since I've purchased this, I had the freezer side set to -18, and at times I saw it vary as much as 4 degrees, so quite a bit of a swing there. When you're at those temperatures though, I think if you set it to -18 or 19 degrees, it shouldn't make too much of a difference if stuff's already frozen in there. The good thing is that the freezer in here is quite well insulated from the rest of the fridge itself. It runs on 12 volts, 24 volts, or it also runs on 240 volts if you use the supplied adapter. Now the ad on the Anaconda website was a little bit misleading in that I thought that it had 240 volt power supply built into it, but you actually have to use an adapter. It only has the DC plug at the back, which is a bit interesting because I mean I would have thought that this sort of fridge would be marketed towards caravanners, but they actually market this fridge towards four-wheel drivers who would install this inside their canopy. One thing I will say about it though is that on the Anaconda website the dimensions for the fridge are actually misquoted. It actually has the dimensions quite a bit larger than what the actual finished product is, which I'll list on the screen here, but which made it a bit difficult for me because when I went to purchase it, obviously I purchased it to fit a certain size cabinet, and then I discovered that it's actually a little bit smaller than what they quoted, so I'm going to have to make some modifications to the cabinet. Now in caravans, and this obviously I bought it for the caravan, it's handy to be able to have a fridge that can automatically switch between DC supply and 240 volt AC supply, whereas this unit is not going to be able to do that. So I'm going to have to use the power supply from my old Waco fridge, which automatically switches and preferences 240 volt AC power to run this fridge. Not a huge deal. If you've already got that power supply, it's all well and good, but if you've got to then go and purchase an extra power supply so that you can install it in a caravan to be able to have it automatically switch between the power supplies is not very advantageous, considering you've got to have extra cost on top of the purchase of the fridge. Now with the fridge itself, it's got some really nice, the buttons really feel really firm, and you know, being able to set the temperatures with the display is great. The display doesn't go off though, which might be interesting at night time. It might be quite bright in here, so I'll have to look at the instructions to see if you can actually dim or turn off the display at night time. It also has a power supply button here, so you can turn it off fully. But in terms of you know, being a fridge in a mobile vehicle, it has the travel lock built into the catch of the door, so that's not going to rock open during transit, but it's easy to operate the fridge door in one go whilst releasing the travel lock, which I thought was pretty good, because I've seen especially with my old Waco fridge, you've got to pull a knob up and then open the door to release that travel lock, whereas this is all in one motion. It's got feet down the bottom to be able to mount it to the floor or whatever you're mounting it to. It also has caps that can be removed, so you can screw it into a cabinet or something like that, which is pretty cool. But it's a relatively light unit. It's very quiet. It also has a cooling fan built into the cabinet at the back, which is good for obviously keeping your compressor cool. You know, obviously fridges can overheat if they're installed in cabinets where there's little airflow, so that's a good feature to have the fan built into it as well. Now, in terms of the inside of the fridge, it's got really good sort of innovative storage in that you can change around a lot of the storage solutions in here to suit, you know, whatever you're putting in there. If you like to have really tall bottles like long necks of beer or stuff like that, or wine bottles, they'll fit in there nicely. And this top one, you can move it up or down, as well as the bottom one that comes out. So really good that you can sort of change the storage solutions in the fridge around to suit your needs. Has a nice little crisper at the bottom in that section in front of the compressor area. Not a huge area, but that can be really good for fruits and vegetables in there to keep them sort of, stop them from freezing. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the freezer cabinet itself is insulated from the rest of the fridge, so I guess that helps for the fridge to be able to keep the freezer at the set temperature better. And that freezer is actually a really decent size too. It's bigger than my old Waco fridge there, and being able to set the temperature individually is fantastic, especially if you want to take things like ice cream, or you know, put ice, or you know, whatever you're putting in there. And then the drawers as well, are able to move them like any other fridge. It's a really nice little LED light here that's nice and bright, so you can see what you're getting out of the fridge. So, no, really good. It also has built-in low voltage protection too. So if we hold the setting button here, it'll take us into those voltage settings. So this one here is the high voltage setting, so it'll cut out at a higher low voltage level, if that makes sense. So I think it's about 11.4 volts, and then you can change it to the medium setting, which cuts it out at a sorry, that's the low setting, and then the medium setting, which cuts it at a lower voltage. They actually recommend either using the medium or low settings here, so that your fridge will stay on for longer and won't cut out as soon. Now, in the sticker that it's got here on the front, it actually says that the average power draw is 2 amps. So that's obviously per hour. So say if you had a battery with 100 amp hours of usable power, you would expect that you could get up to or including 50 hours of runtime out of this if that's all that you're running on it. But obviously that's an average though, so if you're in hotter, humid temperatures, you know, it's probably going to be running more often and you're going to use more power. But I think they base that on 2 amps per hour over 24 hours in 32 degrees ambient, with +4 temperature on the fridge side and -16 on the freezer side. So if we had it set at 4 on the fridge and -16 on the freezer, and we didn't exceed 32 degrees in ambient temperature, we could expect to have an average current draw of 2 amps per hour, which is pretty good for a fridge of this size. Especially if you keep it full too, you're probably less likely to use as much power, because the fridge isn't working as hard to keep the air inside the cabinet cold, because you know the cabinet is more full and has less air in it. So obviously I haven't used it to cool any food yet, and I've used it in any real world conditions, so this is very much just an initial impressions of the fridge. But I have noticed that yeah, you can see here now I've got the fridge side set to 1, and it's currently reading 4 degrees, so there is a bit of a wander there that I'll keep an eye on, but I think that's probably because the fridge is currently empty, so if I fill it up with food, hopefully that shouldn't wander as much. But obviously, as I said, yeah, this is very much an initial impressions, and I may at some stage down the track give a more in-depth review after I've used it in real world conditions. So anyway, that's my initial impressions review of the Austrail 80 litre upright fridge freezer. So drop a like, hit the subscribe button, and look out for more stuff from All Things Outdoors. Thanks guys, see you later.